Hello students, good morning. Let me start for the second part of class 7 is chapter 4. So let me start for the part 2. This chapter name is heat. So topic is laboratory thermometer. A device which is the used for the measuring the temperature in a science laboratory is called as a laboratory thermometer. The temperature in a science laboratory is called as laboratory thermometer. This thermometer is made up of a long glass tube having a thin pore. The, the guardians marked on the tube of the laboratory thermometer can measuring the temperature from minus 10 degrees Celsius to the 110 degrees Celsius. This is known as the range of a laboratory thermometer. This is the range of the laboratory thermometer. Also determine how much a small division on this thermometer read. This is also known as the last count of the guardian's mark on the tube of a laboratory thermometer can measuring the temperature from minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. This is known as the range of the laboratory thermometer. Also determine the how much a small division on the thermometer is due to the fact that this the information is required to the read the thermometer correctly. Is due to the fact that this the information is required to the read the thermometer correctly. So look at this picture for the laboratory thermometer, a maximum and minimum thermometer. So first one is a black hole, the glass valve containing the mercury valve, and second is a mercury thread is the middle part, and third one is a thin bore glass tube. So a laboratory thermometer and maximum and minimum thermometer. These are the special thermometers which automatically record the maximum and the minimum temperature of the day. Record the maximum and the minimum temperature of the day. The maximums and the minimum temperature of the last day reported in the weather report in TV and newspaper are measured by the maximum and minimum thermometer. These are the special thermometers which the automatically record the maximum and minimum temperature of the day. So the maximums and the minimum temperatures of the last day reported in weather report in TV and the newspaper are measured by the maximum and minimum thermometers. So look at this picture. The thermometers at reading the 80 degrees Celsius and beaker. Precaution in using a laboratory thermometer. While the measuring the temperature, the laboratory thermometer should be held the vertically. Precaution is using the laboratory thermometer while the measuring the temperature, the laboratory thermometer should be held the vertically. The thermometer valve should be surrounded from all sides by the substance whose the temperature is to be measured. The thermometer valve should be surrounded from all sides the substance whose the temperature is to be measured. The thermometer reading should be taken while its valve is still in the touch with the substance whose the temperature is being the measured, and by keeping the mercury level along the line of sight. The thermometer reading should be taken while its valve it is still in touch with the substance whose the temperature is being the measured, and by the keeping the mercury level along the line of sight. The thermometer should not be held by the bulb. The thermometer should be carefully handled. The thermometer should not be held by the bulb. The thermometer should be carefully handled. We should note down the temperature reading by keeping the thermometer valve immersed in hot water, because if the thermometer valve is taken out of hot water, so then it's the mercury thread will start falling, and this will given a wrong reading for the temperature of hot water. So dear student, be very careful. So we should note down the temperature reading by keeping the thermometer valve immersed in hot water, because if the thermometer valve is taken out the hot water, so then its mercury thread will start falling, and this will given a wrong reading for the temperature of hot water. Digital thermometer, there are a most of the common thermometer likely mercury thermometers, which use a liquid metal called mercury for their the working. Mercury is the toxic substance, a poison substance, and thus it is a very difficult to dispose of safely. So, dear students, there are the most of the common thermometers like mercury thermometers, which use a liquid metals called a mercury for their working. Mercury is a toxic substance, a poison substance, and thus it is the very difficult to dispose of safely. Thermometer breaks, so there is a lot of the concerns over the use of the mercury is thermometers. So also during this day, digital thermometer are available which do not use mercury. Transfer of heat. Heat flow from a hot object to a cold object, or the heat flow from an object at the higher temperature to another object which is at a lower temperature. Hot flow the from a hot object to a cold object, or the heat flow from an object at the higher temperature to another object which is at a lower temperature. So it's called as the heat transfer. This flow of the heat is known as the transfer of heat. Example, if you dip a steel spoon into a cup of hot tea, so then we will find that the temperature of a spoon rise and it becomes hot. In this case, some of the heat content into hot tea has the been transferred to a spoon which is the placed inside it. When the two objects attain the same temperature, when the flow of the heat stops, this means that no heat will be transferred from one object to another if the temperature of the two objects is the same. Dear student, when the two objects attain the same temperature, then the flow of the heat stop. This means that no heat will be transferred from one object to another. So if the temperature of the two objects is the same, so there are three ways through which the heat can be transferred from a hot object to a cold object. There are three ways. First one is by conduction. In solid, heat is transferred by the conduction. Second, by the convection. In the liquid and gas, heat is transferred by the convections. And third one, by reduction, by radiation. In free space of the vacuum, heat is transferred by the radiation. Let us discuss all the three ways of the heat transfer. First one is conduction. Conduction, the mode of the transfer of heat from hotter part of the material to its colder part of from a hotter material to the cold material. In contact with it, the without the movement of material, so as the whole is known as the conduction. In all the solid, heat is transferred by the process of conduction. The mode of the transfer of heat from hotter part of the material to its the colder part of from a hot material to a cold material in contact with its the without the movement of materials. Conductor and the insulator of heat. Conductor and insulator of heat, material which allow heat be conducted through them easily, are the conductor of heat. Those the materials such as an iron, copper, silver, aluminium, etc. are a good conductor of heat. Bad conductor of heat are those materials which do not allow the heat to be the conducted through them the easily. Bad conductor of the heat are those the materials which do not allow heat to be conducted through them easily. The material are also known as the insulator of heat. Wood, plastic and glass are the insulator of heat. Use of the good and wet conductor of heat. During the winter season, we generally wear woolen cloth. If we compare them with the cotton cloth, then we will find that the wool fibers have the much more space between them. Use of the good and the wet conductor of heat. During the winter season, we generally wear the woolen cloth. If we compare them with the cotton cloth, when we will find that the wool fibers have the much more space between them. These get the felt with air, which is the wet conductor of heat. Hence the wing on the insulator, both wool and air together present the heat from our bodies from the escaping out. These get filled with air, which is the wet conductor of heat. Hence the wing and the insulator, both wool and air together prevent the heat from our body from escaping. Convection. Second one is convection. The mode of the transfer of heat from the hotter part of the fluid, liquid or gas to its colder part by the movement of the liquid itself is known as convection. The mode of the transfer of heat from the hotter part of the fluid liquid to its the colder part by the movement of the liquid itself is known as convection. The transfer of heat by the convection can take place only in the liquid and the gas. It is due to the reason that the particles in liquid and the gas can move about freely. So the transfer of heat by the convection cannot take place in the solid because the particles in the solid are fixed at the place and cannot move about freely. So the transfer of heat by the convection cannot take place in the solids because the particles in the solid are fixed at the place and cannot move about freely. Is also not occur in the empty space of vacuum because there are no particles of any kind in empty space which can move and transfer heat. Is also not occurred in the empty space of vacuums because there are no particles of any kinds in the empty space which can move and transfer heat. So dear students, thank you. Next we start for the next topic, the next slide. Thank you.